Thank you very much, Ross. Yeah. Like you said, I found Transform Work online, and I found it after I started a search to know what other organizations are doing, within the Christian workplace and what it was like. And this ties back to something that started about 3 years ago while I was in Nigeria. And so I was working for an organization in Nigeria, and within that organization, there was a policy or a law that you could not share your faith or your experience of faith with your colleagues. So I wondered how that was going to, be beneficial to me and how I could work around it. And I was praying about it for some time, and then one day the Lord began to direct me on how to go about reaching out to people within my work environment. And it started a as a breakfast meeting, because that was the idea that came up. I had a breakfast meeting on a weekend and invited some of my colleagues along. And it was just a breakfast chat that we had, just have conversations with one another. And I asked them about their lives, their experiences personally. And from there, I got a picture, I would say, of what God was intending me to do in that moment. And so we started what we call the Rebuild Community. And the vision of the Rebuild Community was to see the kingdom of God being made manifest within the marketplace, within the workplace, within schools, and every other place outside of the church walls. And the approach we used then was we would invite ourselves, believers within different workplaces, to invite our colleagues that we wanted to share the gospel with. And so we had breakfast meetings, dinners, during the weekends where people were not at work, and would invite our colleagues along, just tell them, oh, it's a breakfast meeting, it's a dinner for, professionals, young professionals from different organizations, and they would come. And we started off by, sharing our testimonies, the believers there, of how we came to Christ, our experiences with God. And, within that, we saw people saved. We saw other believers, got excited about the whole organization, or would I say the whole community, and it began to grow. So our vision necessarily was and is to, create what we call niches, or what we call chapters. So we invite people, they come for our breakfast, our dinners, our lunch meetings, and we share the vision of the organization, share the vision of the group, and tell them, oh, this is really what we're doing. We're bringing people together, believers, but not just believers. We're also trying to reach out to our colleagues at work. And, doing it within the work setting may not be comfortable for everyone, but if you can bring them out of the work setting into a more, comfortable environment, have a breakfast, have dinners, and, seminars together, and we share our faith, share our experiences, share our journeys. And we saw how that grew. Some people were able to create niches on their own. So take the vision. So we had a vision statement, a mission. We had what we call the introductory document. So you read about the vision and read about, what we are really doing. And then we shared it with them, and they would create a niche on their own, invite their own friends and colleagues, and share their testimonies of salvation. Another thing that really did inspire me, and the pattern of what we're doing, was the Full Gospel Businessmen's Fellowship. I don't know if you've ever heard of that. Yeah. Yeah. So I grew up my parents were always a part of it growing up. And I really did enjoy the style and the method in which they did it. So I read the autobiography of the founder, Isaac Arinez, that's the happiest people on earth. And from there, I really connected with what his encounter was and his experience. And, that also inspired some of the programs that we began to have, because we now decided not just to have the breakfast, but we started doing what we call outreach projects, where we came together, especially professionals within a particular field, and create a project within that field to reach out to other professionals within that field. And we also have what I say vision and projects in mind for the future on how to infiltrate, society, the workplace with the gospel, especially in media and in entertainment, bringing believers together who are part of this systems to build structures in place and put products out there that influence people for the kingdom of God. I think one of our, what I say, big goals for the future is to really enter into the entertainment industry, especially in cartoon production. So we did a study when we were starting the organization. So I and some of my friends, we did a study, and we discovered that many of the top cartoon organizations in the world, animations and graphics, had the kind of messages they were passing on to the next generation, trying to define certain systems for the next generation. And their agenda is really pushing on because the truth is many believers don't have an option. For instance, you don't want your children to grow up not watching cartoons or playing games, but the options out there were not suitable for what I say the kingdom to be preached. And what we did was we began to search, are there believers within these organizations, the top organizations in the world? And we discovered they're actually believers. And the truth is, there are believers working for these people to push an agenda that is anti-Christ. But if we can connect with those believers and come together and also try to create content that is pro-Christ, pro the kingdom, we can all at the same quality that these top organizations are doing it, we can also infiltrate the culture with the gospel, even without literally going on the streets to preach the gospel. And so that has been one of our dreams, especially for the future generation, to create a narrative or also create options, especially for believers, because it looks like we don't have options, like we're tied to feed our children with the things that the world is already creating. So we too want to create so that we have the option to say, oh, you're a believer, you can have this network that, oh, it's 24/7 cartoons, but the cartoons are based on the kingdom, the culture of the kingdom of God. So that was really what we started doing in Nigeria, and the Lord is helping us over the time, because I moved to the UK. We've had some hitches, but we're still going and growing by the grace of God. But fast forward to 2 years ago when I came over to the UK, I was asking the Lord what was the next step for me, for my life, what he wanted me to do. And I had a dream that really, I wouldn't narrate the entire dream, but the dream really focused me on coming to the UK, exactly to Aberdeen at that time, to Aberdeen University. And, God did what he did, and I found myself in Scotland. And when I came into Scotland, I began to pray and ask the Lord exactly what is the purpose, what is the assignment in this place? Because you gave me a vision, which I already started in Nigeria, and then you moved my physical location. So what is the agenda for this? And God has been revealing several things to me over the course of the past 2 years I've been here. And one of it was to really establish connections and networks to support the vision that he gave me earlier in Nigeria. So it's not just to get a master's degree or just to work, but to actually create networks for the kingdom of God, to build what he has already put in my heart and as a vision, as a dream for the future. So basically that's what God has been doing with me. And I believe, when I found Transform Work, I knew this was one organization that is already, what I say, in the line of pushing the kingdom within the workplace, and and other organizations just trying to build that network to see, oh, do we have people of like mind? because there was something we used to say in the rebuild community, that when you come, what you find in the rebuild community are your 7,000 others. When Elijah said to God that he was the only one that had not bowed his knees, and God said, I have 7,000 others who haven't bowed their knees to bow. And so what we say is we are connecting with our 7,000 others, yeah, to propel ourselves towards God's agenda for our lives.